From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MVW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
And broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Wednesday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio this morning. We'll be joined here in a little bit by Matt Moscona. He does Baton Rouge radio every single day. We'll talk about the Rebels and the Tigers this weekend, and we'll talk a little Ed Orgeron, Will Wade, good bit of stuff going on with the Bayou Bengals these days, so we'll get into that. Coming up in a little bit on the podcast brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Remember the lunch specials, $4.99. Remember that they come with two sides of bread, 32-ounce drink every single day, the ribs at night, the Speed Pass Plus app, the mobile rewards program, plenty of ways to get good food and save money in the process there at Blue Sky and the Oxford Exxon. Again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are. I'm not particularly focused this morning. I'm just going to warn you now. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call the number. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what new Ford or own Ford that you are interested in. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. He's not going to waste your time because you won't be able to waste his. What happens is you get a great quote. You get a bottom line quote right off the bat, and you can let that be your baseline moving forward. And or you can go ahead and start thinking about doing what I've done and what so many other podcast listeners have done, and that's let Corey be your truck guy, be your car guy. You get a great vehicle from Clark Ford, phenomenal service after the sale, delivery options, really everything you could possibly want from a car dealer. You get it at Clark Ford, 662-257-1900. Tell him that you heard about Clark Ford on the podcast, and you'll save $500 off the already great bottom line. Again, the number is 662-257-1900.
So plenty of time to get into LSU in a little bit. Ole Miss and Southern Miss tonight from Pete Taylor Park in Hattiesburg. Zach Phillips getting another midweek start for the Rebels. The left-hander's already pitched against Southern Miss once. I believe that was a 9-4 win for Ole Miss and Pearl, but they are in Hattiesburg starting a 4-game road trip. They head to Baton Rouge straight from Hattiesburg after tonight's game. So familiar pitching matchup between the two teams in a game all of a sudden that does have some importance for Ole Miss. It matters more than maybe most midweeks that we thought maybe some midweeks would going into the season since they've already lost 7. It's a chance for a top 50 road win. Southern Miss somewhere around 40 in the RPI as of today. So we'll have coverage at rubbergrove.com. That's kind of where that is. But Ole Miss and Southern Miss tonight from Hattiesburg. Neal, you sent me the link yesterday, ESPN The Magazine, shutting down before the calendar year is up, September, August, something like that, if I remember correctly. And I'm kind of unbeknownst to me until I get it in the mail every month. I'm actually a subscriber, not because I meant to, but because I have ESPN Insider and it has come with it all these years. And I'm a guy that had I been born 20 years before now, I would get multiple newspapers probably delivered to me. I like the tangible element of print in my hands. I don't have it in most things. The only thing I actually look at that I get is I subscribe to a really, really niche golfers thing called the Golfers Journal. But otherwise, I don't get one of those. I kind of miss it. I kind of wish I did. I kind of wish I was interested in something. And I kind of got a point here. ESPN The Magazine's always been trying to compete with Sports Illustrated, trying to be another arm of that vehicle. It clearly isn't working. It's lost money from pretty much day one. I think it's been going 21 years, if I have that correctly. Is that part of media just ending, or is it, like I just mentioned, it's just going to be incredibly niche publications moving forward? Because you got to think Sports Illustrated's on its last leg at some point in the future as well. You
would think. So do you read, when you read books, do you read them on your tablet or do you like to hold the book?
I'm talking out both sides of my mouth a little bit. I probably prefer holding the book, but the mobility of the tablet usually wins, frankly. I read tons more books on my Kindle a year than I do holding the book, although I've gotten some print books here in the last 5-6 months, and I have enjoyed reading those, holding them more.
Yeah, I like holding a book. I did it Saturday a little bit. I had 30 minutes of free time just to myself. And I overcame the urge to do yet another Peloton ride and went outside and got by the pool and had a book by myself, and it was awesome. And it's hard to take the tablet outside, especially in the summer because it gets too hot. The tablet overheats.
There is a version of the Kindle that is pretty good in the light, but yeah,
Okay.
in general, yes.
But to answer your question about magazines and the publications, newspapers, they're dead. A few of them are on life support, but they're dead. I get amused. I really do. Amused is the right word. And I used to feel sorry for people in it. Now I don't. Because you'll get these newspaper guys that are almost fight you. And a lot of times it's young people. And it cracks me up. I'm like, man, my daughter turns 18 today. Campbell's a smart kid. She reads a lot. She hasn't read a newspaper in her life. I don't think she's ever really owned a magazine. Think about that.
In a way, it's sad.
Sure, but it's reality.
Yeah.
And so if you've lost young people, it's over. It's over. And so when they get fight about it, people have had to figure out how to make it work online. And thank God a few people have kind of figured it out. But it's hard. But the days of a tangible newspaper, and if you're spending money on newspaper advertising, if you're advertising in the Oxford Eagle, you're throwing your money away. If you're putting your money in like Invitation Oxford, I'm sorry, I know I'm pissing people off today, you're throwing your money away. No one sees it. It doesn't work. You've got to come up with something different. That day and age is over.
I think that's the way to phrase this. You're kind of an advocate for the younger generation, and you fight a lot of the stereotypes that they're pushed upon.
Sure.
Why do you think habits have changed so rapidly where they don't give the attention span or time span to those type of publications and those type of mediums?
Because they have information at their fingertips at all times.
Doesn't necessarily make it better, though. That's where I struggle a little
I didn't
bit,
say it was better.
Yeah,
but
I know. But
okay, Carson wants to read about the Cubs.
Yeah.
Okay, so Carson went to bed last night before the Cubs started. Cubs were in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets up this morning, and at his fingertips on his app, the MLB app,
mm-hmm.
he can pull up the Cubs game. He can read a summary.
Yep.
He can watch the highlights.
Yep.
He can look at the box score. He can go down and click the standings button, see what the Cardinals did, see what the Brewers did, see where the Cubs stand today. And then he can immediately read a quick preview of today's game in Seattle before the Cubs fly back to Chicago.
Right.
All of that's at his fingertips. When I was Carson's age, think about this. When I was Carson's age, generations have changed. So when I was 12, if I woke up and the Cubs had played on the West Coast, I got the Monroe News Star. Some people got the Shreveport Times, which was a big publication. But if you got the Shreveport Times, it was a special day. The Monroe News Star probably didn't have the Cubs score in. So I would have to get on. When I was 12, did we have ESPN when I was 12?
ESPN started in 78 or 79.
So they had the little ticker at the bottom. So I would have had to go turn on the TV and wait for the ticker to tell me the score. All I would have gotten was the score. I wouldn't have known about what happened in the actual game until the next day.
Or Sports Center.
Or Sports Center. Yeah. That's right. Sports Center. Sports Center, if I watched for an hour.
See, that's probably the most direct one, even beyond magazines and newspaper, is Sports Center. Because when I was in elementary school, I mean, I had lots of extra options that you did not even. I would get up essentially an hour early every morning, and I would watch Sports Center. And that's what I did. I would get up, and I'd still kind of lay in bed. I'd get breakfast, and I watched a full hour of Sports Center. I have not turned Sports Center on to watch it for informational purposes.
It's been years.
A decade.
Yeah.
It probably has literally been a decade. Good. I'll find it somewhere else.
Because you can find it on your device.
Yeah.
Instantaneously. Instantly. Not only did he know that Kyle Schwarber hit a 2-run home run in the 8th inning last night to put the Cubs ahead, he saw the home run.
Yeah.
He knows exactly who threw the pitch, how fast the pitch was moving, what the exit velocity was of Kyle Schwarber's home run. It's a different world. I mean, people at home going, well, duh. But it is when you have a kid like you're really going to see it here soon because you're going to graduate from cartoons to stuff here pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, it what's at their fingertips is just – and it's frightening too. But it's right there. The people that try to do the whole overprotective, uber protective thing, I'm like, hey, good on you, but I don't know how you pull that off. It's culturally, it's really changed. And I know this is a sports podcast, and we're supposed to talk about sports. I find this to be fascinating. Like, I watch Campbell's group.
Mm-hmm.
She's 18 today, and she's one of the younger ones in her group. So almost everyone in her group is 18. The interactions male-female is different than it was a generation ago. Everything's different. And I think it's all based on technology and social media and information readily available at your fingertips. I really do.
Print publications today that work have to be niche, and they have to completely relate to older audiences.
Yeah.
That's the cat. You're trying to get the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and not just because they're used to it, but because they're comfortable with it.
But even the stuff online that works is niche.
Yeah.
If you think about it, the stuff that really works is niche.
I don't know. I mean, I'm probably giving some opinions that are older than most people my age. I do think society is worse without print publications. I do.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that.
I think that there is a certain – I don't know the words. I didn't necessarily plan on going this direction when we started talking, but I don't know. I just like that there's a wait for something in a way. I like that there's an anticipation on good product that you know you're getting, like the golfers thing. I mean, it comes out quarterly. It's only 4 times a year. Something comes in, though, there's kind of an excitement to it. It's like, hey, this is great photography. This is great journalism. This is great opinion focused on something that I love. So that's the key there.
Sure.
But there is something to having to wait. The instant gratification is a negative when it's constant, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I remember, I want to say I was in about the 5th, 6th grade, and my birthday present was a subscription to Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. And I think it came every Thursday, maybe every Friday. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But I looked forward to that. I got something in the mail.
And it was weekly.
Not only did I get something in the mail, I got something in the mail that I loved to read.
So what do you get? You get one a week. You got swimsuit and then maybe 1 or 2 other special editions. So 54 episodes.
Yeah, it was amazing. A couple of times the swimsuit issue didn't make it to my room. Isn't that funny?
That one got lost.
That one got lost in the mail, and it was. And now I mean, I don't get into all that. I think that was
a simpler time.
A simpler time. That was almost a risque publication, and now you compare it to like what's on the internet.
Well, I mean, the ESPN The Magazine tried to compete, coming full circle with the body issue.
Yeah,
that was their competition, if you will, which creative. It was good.
Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah.
Works.
Smart is the word. Yeah.
The people that fight back on that, I'm like, oh, for the love of God, get online and enter anything.com. I mean, just whatever comes to your mind. It's There are some examples where I've had people go, hey, I was looking for something. Just note, don't enter this.
That's not the keyword.
That's not what you want to go. Yes, I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, it's sad. I mean, when Sports Illustrated dies, from a print standpoint, it is going to be a sad day. We get ESPN The Magazine because I guess I subscribed to Insider at some point, and Carson reads it.
Does he?
Yeah, because my deal with Carson is it's here's a quick one. Yeah, I know we got to go. The ACT is all reading. You read it, and you answer questions based on what you read. And kids go to school today, and there's not a lot of reading. They really don't read that much. And so I beg him. I'm like, hey, man, just read something, anything. I don't care. Read something you're interested in, but read. Basically, practice reading. get your reading muscles. And so one of the things that he reads is ESPN The Magazine. So I'll have to come up with something to replace that because he likes it. He'll read about the Milwaukee Bucks or the Seattle Mariners or whatever, but it doesn't really matter. You just read.
Yeah. We'll go to Matt in 1 second for the update about Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. Underwriting and process things done in Memphis. So you're getting local underwriting and understands your market, a leader in condo financing and the float down option. So you can find Jason at 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com.
Matt Moscona will join us on the Patterson and Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law. They specialize in personal injury law and real estate law, but theirs is a general practice. Basically, they can handle any of your legal needs. And if you think you have a legal issue upcoming, if you think you are involved in something where you need some legal advice, take advantage of being a podcast listener. Give them a call. Tell them that you heard about them on the podcast. And get some legal advice. That initial consultation is free. They'll tell you whether you need to pursue it, what you need to do. And frankly, in the event that they're not in a position to help you, they'll refer you to someone who can. Most people will not do that. They'll do all of that just because you're an Oxford Exxon podcast listener. 662-526-1992 or check out their website, pelaws.com. Warm weather's finally here. With it comes the inevitable debate of sock or no sock with your loafers. So save your feet and your shoes from making their own impression. Step into spring with some no-shows from Dead Soxy. You really need to experience the difference a quality sock makes. So go to deadsoxy.com. Enter the code Rebel Grove at checkout to receive 30% off all orders, including sale items. I've been wearing the no-shows out several times. It's changed. Frankly, it's changed my wardrobe. I can wear shorts now with loafers. I never was able to do that before. I always had to figure out some way to make a tennis shoe not look stupid, which was difficult. They have the no-shows are great. They feel great. They stay up. There's a no-slip guarantee, and you'll really enjoy them. So go to deadsoxy.com. Check out the no-show collection. Remember to enter promo code Rebel Grove at checkout for 30% off all orders. And we're brought to you by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust, based in Madison, Mississippi, represents clients in more than 20 states and has advisors in 3 states. Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity, and decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan. Cookie-cutter financial planners put you in a box. Pinnacle Trust builds a box just for you. To learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast. You'll get 10% off your first year's fee.
Matt, thanks for a little time this morning. Plenty going on around LSU. We're going to get to baseball and more here in a second. But Neil and I were just spent a segment talking about the fact that ESPN The Magazine is shutting it down in September and just kind of talking about print in general. Do you read anything in print now in 2019? I mean, do you get newspapers to your door? Do you read niche publications? What's kind of your habits in that area?
I am 100% on my mobile device.
Okay.
I do, however, have the inaugural subscriber long-sleeve T-shirt from ESPN The Magazine in 1998, and I have the black fleece with the ESPN The Magazine logo on the left breast that I still sometimes wear when I'm working out if I need just a heavy layer to sweat through. So I'm still repping my ESPN The Magazine gear.
Yeah, I actually still get ESPN The Magazine simply because I was an insider subscriber and they had it included.
Me too.
So
don't we all?
Yeah.
ESPN has forced the magazine, which is the size of a pizza box, on people forever. It's like no matter what you subscribe to, it's like, hey, we're going to throw in the magazine too. Okay. I guess they just needed the circulation. I have no idea, but just print in general, it's just. I mean, I very much believe that, the written – I have a lot of opinions on the subject. Written word media, it's never going to go away. I mean, some people like to watch. Some people like to listen. Some people like to read. like people are never just going to – human beings are never going to stop reading. It's just how they consume their written content. It's just not going to be touching a physical page on a magazine or a book anymore. It's just going to be digital.
Yeah, no, that's what we were talking about it. I'm really really old school with it. It kind of saddens me a little bit. Neil thinks I'm an idiot, so
I did not say you were an idiot. I did not say that. I get it. I like to hold a book in my hand still. I'd prefer to read a book holding the book than the device. I don't know why. I just do, but I consume all media that I consume. Like Matt says, digitally. I haven't subscribed to a newspaper since, hell, I stopped subscribing to the newspaper that I worked for when I was in Mobile because I got tired of having to throw it away.
That's fair.
Like the other part of it too, though, is if you go digital, like whenever your eyes start getting bad, you don't want to read like the 8-point font in the newspaper anymore. You can just like expand the screen on your phone.
It's so funny you say that because I'll see my mom, if she's listening. Mom, I'm not making fun because I'll be there one day. I hope I get to live that long. I'll look at her phone and the font's huge, and you're like, oh yeah, you can do that. It's like a teleprompter, it's like 3 lines.
all of our day is coming.
Oh, there's no question.
So we're probably gonna get down in the weeds in a minute. So I want to hit some baseball first before I forget it. What's Cole Henry's status? What's kind of going on with the Tigers? Because I look at this weekend, and to me, Ole Miss and LSU are as much as you can be in direct battle for a host spot. I think these two programs are. They're both 13-8. They both have RPIs around 20. They both got some weird losses. You've got an LSU team with some crazy midweek. Ole Miss is 8-1 against Florida, Arkansas, and Texas A&M, and they're 5-7 against everybody else. So go figure. It's two really strange teams that the only thing they've done consistently is be inconsistent this season.
Yeah, it's kind of the nature of the league, especially with the West, where everybody's good this year except Alabama. It just nothing really surprises me on an SEC weekend anymore. Certainly not in the West this year. As for Cole Henry, he's talked to Paul Maneri yesterday on my radio show. It started on Tuesday, and he described Henry as less than a 50-50 proposition. His feeling is that Henry's not going to pitch. I guess that could change the closer they get to Friday. They went through something similar a few weeks ago, albeit a different injury, with Zach Hess, where he pulled his groin after 13 pitches against Missouri, and they assumed it was going to be a few-week injury. And then they got to the following weekend against Florida, and Hess was 100%. I mean, it was an odd thing. They still held him out of his start, but he pitched out of the bullpen that weekend. So, I mean, if Henry shows up to the yard on Wednesday or Thursday and is feeling 100%, and they can go. I mean, they did an MRI, nothing structurally wrong with him. I guess he could go. I don't think it's likely. You're probably going to see the same rotation you did last weekend, where LSU goes with Hess and then Eric Walker and then Landon Marceau, the freshman, on Sunday. But man, they're not that dissimilar, from Ole Miss in that respect. That they've had some really nice wins. They had a road series win against Mississippi State. They got a home series win against Texas A&M. They've had some really confounding losses as well. They got swept at Texas earlier this year. I know everyone deals with injuries, but that's really been the story of the season. LSU played a midweek a few weeks ago where Paul Maneri had one bench player. He had one position player available coming off his bench for the game. So they've gone through the attrition, but they're starting to get healthier, and Maneri's pretty good at getting the best out of his teams in May and June. So I think they're kind of hoping for the same again this year.
Zach Hess, you mentioned a couple times, he's quite the hot button over there as it comes to a Friday night arm in Baton Rouge. What do you kind of see from him? Because, you see a ton more than me, but when I watch him, I go, hey, he's got the ability to be really good, but he almost kind of looks like a reliever still being forced into a starter to me a little bit.
Well, that's what he is, Chase. And even by his own admission, Zach understands that he's going to be a reliever at the next level. And it's odd because he used to draw comparisons to Alex Lang in that respect, where you realize he's kind of a max effort guy, and you don't typically see max effort pitchers in a starting role. But Lang always pushed back because he wants to be a starter. Hess, I think, accepts the fact that he's going to be a guy out of the bullpen at the next level and is okay with that. Team just needs him to start. A year ago, especially with Eric Walker on the shelf with Tommy John, the analogy I always give is it's kind of like in high school football where sometimes coaches will take their best athlete and put him at quarterback, even though they don't project as a quarterback at the next level, just because you need that guy with the ball in his hands every play. It's kind of like that with Hess, where, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, but it might be the same with Etheridge as well, because he's been a bullpen guy who's starting now. But it's like they needed their plus arm to give them more than an inning if they have a lead, or 2 innings if they have a lead. So that's what forced Hess into the starting role. And look, when he's been on, he's been fantastic. I mean, he went toe-to-toe with Zach Thompson of Kentucky earlier this year and pitched 8 innings, shutout ball, or a 1-run ball. Yeah, he outdueled Emerson Hancock at Georgia. He pitched 8 shutout innings in that game. LSU won 1-0. When he's been good, he's been sensational. When he struggles and he's walking guys, it's typically when you see him only get through about 5 innings and the pitch count gets over 100. It's actually what happened last year in the Thursday night game against Ole Miss, where he gave up 3 runs, he walked a bunch of guys, but he battled a lot of trouble, and he left the game after 5, and the game was tied at 3. And then Ole Miss put up an 11 spot on LSU in the 6th. But you'll know early with Hess. I mean, if he can get through the first and get through a groove, get and find his groove, then he can be really, really good. You just never really know on a given Friday which guy is going to show up.
Yeah, for Ole Miss fans, I think it'd be similar to if they decided Parker Caracci should just start instead of close, and you throw him in there and see how long he can go, and you let it be what it is. LSU, Ole Miss is only going to start one left-hander this weekend. They're going to go Etheridge, Nikhazy, and Hoagland. So 2 freshmen on the back end on Saturday and Sunday after Etheridge. LSU hitting .220 against left-handed pitching in SEC play, .306 against right-handers. Is that a sample size thing, or is that a real thing?
It's a real thing, but it also – you can't ignore the lefties that they face. So when you face Zach Thompson from Kentucky and you face Asa Lacy from Texas A&M, who might be next year's 1-1 guy, they've just faced some awesome lefties. Faced Ethan Small in Mississippi State.
Doc Zackus.
And Doc Zackus, yeah, man. Like, whenever you face – I think you guys understand this. It's just there are some guys that are pitching in college baseball now that shouldn't be college pitchers. Like Zach Thompson and Asa Lacy throwing 97, 98 from the left side. Those guys never showed up in college before. And now they're facing college hitters, and most college hitters aren't going to become big league hitters. So, they're facing big league pitching, and they're struggling with it. So the LSU's absolutely been better against righties, in large part because they're a left-handed dominant lineup. You could see as many as 6 or 7 left-handed bats in the lineup, probably 6 now. They've gotten a little healthier. But, man, it's real. They've been much better against righties than lefties, but the reality is also a lot of the lefties they faced have just been plus arms.
Ole Miss has Mississippi State next week. You mentioned the Bulldogs. You've at least watched them against LSU. What are some quick impressions of Mississippi State this season?
Yeah, LSU and Mississippi State played earlier in the conference schedule. So I haven't watched a ton of them since they played. But I mean, it's hard to get past the arms. I mean, LSU had some success against JT Ginn, but Small just confounded LSU, and that was at a point in the season where LSU was really, really banged up and fighting a lot of injuries, and they lost on Friday to Small, and then managed to come back and win the next 2 days and win the series in Starkville. So, I think if you can get past the first 2 guys on the mound, you have some success. You can have success against them. But the other thing, too, is as great as Mangum is and as much as you feel like that team can hit, they didn't hit a ton against LSU. LSU had 3 really good performances on the mound and wound up winning that series. So, State's a good team. I based on what I saw a month ago, I'm a little surprised they are where they are right now.
I think Ole Miss has got to get to 18 to have even a shot of hosting. I think it could take 19, depending on what else they do. They've lost 7 non-conference games by this point. No SEC team has hosted with a higher than 14 RPI since 2010. Do you kind of think the Tigers are in that same boat? Do you think they're running toward 18 to be able to get one in Baton Rouge this June?
Yeah, I think I don't think LSU's really thinking they're stopping there, because the magic number typically for a national seed is 20.
Right.
Since the league expanded, only 2 teams that have gotten to 20 wins have not been a national seed, and that's always the goal here. It's not host, it's national seed. As realistic or unrealistic as that may be, and you obviously understand the SEC's top-heavy this year, and the Pac-12 has 3 teams that are just awesome and are probably going to be the national seeds as well. But I think the way that LSU fans are kind of playing it in their brain is, okay, you take 2 or 3 out of Ole Miss, so you obviously put some separation there. Next week you're at Arkansas, and as good as they are, one of those statistical oddities, guys, is that LSU just owned Arkansas as long as Paul Mainieri's been in Baton Rouge. It doesn't matter how good or bad either team is. LSU has just owned Arkansas. So if you go win 2 out of 3 in Fayetteville, easier said than done. But if you can win 2 out of 3 and then you get Auburn in Baton Rouge the final weekend, and that's, you never want to say sweep, but that is a sweepable series. I mean, that puts you at 20. So if they get to 20 and then do what they normally do at the Paul Mainieri Invitational in Hoover and go make a run into the weekend and go possibly the championship game, I think that's the blueprint most people here are considering. It's not how do you get to a host site, it's how do you get to the national seed. So your road to Omaha runs to Baton Rouge.
Really makes this a swing weekend in a lot of ways, because if Ole Miss did find a way to win a series down there for the first time since '82, it would certainly at least tighten things up a little bit for the Tigers.
Well, look, if LSU is just playing with no margin for error, which is why it's odd that we're having the conversation the way we are as far as potentially being a national seed. But I think a lot of that is the seeds that were planted early in the season. If you remember, I mean, LSU was preseason number 1. And so everybody came into this season when they got Hess and Watson and Duplantis all back. And then they had the number 1 signing class in the country, and all these kids showed up. I mean, I don't know how much you know about LSU's freshman class, guys, but Landon Marco turned down $1.3 million, and he had arm soreness. And Jayden Hill was another $1 million bonus baby that showed up on campus. He's 6'4" and throws 98 from the right side, and he pitched 2 weeks and was awesome. And then he's been on the shelf ever since with arm soreness. And we talked about Cole. Yeah, to put this into perspective, for as good as Cole Henry's been this year, when they started the season, he was at best, their 5th option as a starting pitcher. And he's the best guy they have right now. So, I mean, I think everyone is just – this is a long way to answer your question, but I think everyone here is just waiting for the talent on this team to reach its max potential, which everybody thought was there at the beginning of the season. We still haven't seen it yet, but they're getting healthier. So if they start getting healthier through May, I think there's this assumption that they can get to that level. But you're right. I mean, as far as this being a make-or-break weekend, there's no question. It is, because if you lose this series at home this weekend, then you have to do something extraordinary like sweep at Arkansas or sweep 2 of your final 3 weekends. I mean, I guess you have to sweep Arkansas and sweep Auburn,
yeah.
even be back into that conversation. So it's just, and I don't think that's realistic. So if LSU loses this weekend, they have to you collectively have to recalibrate your goals.
Take a break in our talk with Matt to tell you about G&M Pharmacy there on South Lamar in Oxford, also Tyson Drugs in New Albany. You can transfer your medication. You can do it simple. You can call them at 662-236-2222 is the number. They take care of everything else. All you do is give your name, a couple of quick questions, and you'll be on your way to be able to get the free delivery to your home or workplace. They'll get the med sync to make sure everything's on schedule at the time of the month that you need it. And maybe while you're in there, you grab some CBD oil. It's available in multiple different forms, including capsules or topical salves. It's an all-natural product that helps maintain overall health and regulate many conditions: depression, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and plenty more. It is FDA approved. That ensures product consistency, purity, and potency. That may not be true with all other brands or where you get it online, but you can get it from G&M. Again, 662-236-2222.
My mailbag will be up at some point today. I can't make promises as to when, but at some point on Wednesday it will be up. It's brought to you by the Westin Jackson. You can stay at the Westin Jackson if you're stopping through Jackson on business. If you're there just to kind of relax for a weekend, maybe play some golf, do some shopping, see friends. It's a great place to stay. You can visit Soul Spa. It's the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. And, of course, you can gather at Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. Fantastic food, creative craft cocktails, a curated wine list. It's open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. So gather at Estelle tonight. The podcast also brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. You guys know the drill by now. If you are thinking about lining up a summer trip, maybe you're thinking about that fall break trip, you're thinking about holiday trips already, just do something for yourself. Get in touch with John. There's no commitment. Get in touch with him. Give him some parameters. Give him a budget. And see if he can come up with options that you would not come up with on your own. Here's a hint. He can. Check it out. 901-494-3387 or jedwards@regencytravel.net. Again, there's no obligation. You give him some parameters. You give him a budget. He'll give you options that you can't come up with on your own. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows him to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. So 901-494-3387, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast.
Switching gears a little bit, what's the temperature down there with all the Will Wade stuff? You got all the court stuff going on. Seemingly every day something else pops up. What's sort of the overall landscape?
That's just all the national media, Chase. It's just the national media that's picking on LSU because they're not a blue blood. That's what that is. You know, why'd they ever go after Kentucky and Kansas and Duke? Because they never did anything wrong, right? Just all the national media picking on little LSU.
That does seem to be the message coming from Baton Rouge, and it's given the fact that this is stuff that's happening in a federal courtroom, it just seems like such an odd response to it.
It is such a weird thing, man. It's just a weird thing for everybody to dig their heels in on. And look, I have a lot of really deep-seated opinions on the matter that are cultural in nature, and I think LSU fans, just as a collective, they love their culture, they love their school, but they have at times this, I don't want to call it a little man syndrome because that's not the proper way to say it, but I think LSU just feels disrespected. And sometimes you see that come forward, like the Devin White thing. When Devin White gets called for targeting, it's, because the league office is in Birmingham and Alabama's in 2 weeks, so of course they're going to take Devin White off the field because they're not going to help LSU. It's like, I don't know how people actually come to that end, but they believe it. And I think you're seeing that here again with the Will Wade stuff. It's just, I think anybody can recognize that the things Will Wade is implicated in sounds terrible. The optics of it are awful. And when you couple that with the fact that we know what the culture in college basketball is, I mean, it's naive to think absolutely nothing happened. But where fans are falling typically is either, one, can you prove it? And two, well, everybody cheats, so who cares? You know, that's where fans are on this thing. And as far as the administration, the interesting question is, with a new AD, what does he think about it? Because we know what Joe Oliva thought. Joe Oliva reinstated Will Wade, the guy he hired. He didn't want to punt on the guy he hired that had won an SEC championship in year 2 and filled the arena and was making money and got LSU to a Sweet 16.
I thought Greg
Sankey's
comment was fascinating. When Will Wade was reinstated, he was asked about it. I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago. I lose track of time, and he said, "Well, it's a chapter in the story." Clearly indicating that the book had not reached its conclusion. It was a chapter in the story. What did you think when he said that? And then the obvious question is, now that Scott Woodward is the AD at LSU, he didn't hire Will Wade. Will Wade's redone his contract. This stuff's still going on in the media. Woodward could get rid of Wade and just wash his hands of it. And he's so beloved down there that it might be accepted if he did. What did you think of what Sankey said, and what do you think Woodward is tempted to do here?
So the Sankey thing I think was just logical, right? I mean, it's not over. You still have the federal trial. We don't know what's going to come of that. At the time he said it. And then we're all assuming the NCAA is going to open an investigation into all of these programs that have been implicated. So it's, in a very literal sense, it's not over. It wasn't over with Will Wade's reinstatement. So I think maybe some people around here were miffed by that. I wasn't. I just thought it was I thought it was just honest. I mean, it's true. It's not over. Like, literally, it's not over. The NCAA hasn't even begun their investigation, which, of course, they will. As far as Woodward, when he was introduced last week, I actually asked the question about Will Wade, and his answer was supportive but not all in. He said, Will Wade's our coach, and I support him 100% until he isn't. So that caveat was the interesting part, because Woodward, you're right, he didn't hire Will Wade, and I don't know where he stands on all of this as of now, but I'll also say this, and this is just me connecting dots. Now, this is not something I've had a conversation with anybody about or know anything about. Scott Woodward was, hired, it was announced on a Wednesday. Will Wade had been reinstated Sunday night. We know that the Scott Woodward conversations with LSU had begun well before Will Wade was reinstated. So is it plausible to think that Scott Woodward took the LSU job without having a single conversation with anybody at LSU about Will Wade and his future while the basketball coach was suspended? I mean, my assumption is Woodward had to know the reinstatement was coming and was probably okay with it until anything new might come out that could cause that situation to change. That's just me reading tea leaves. But I'm thinking he's like at this point, he's okay with Will Wade until something else comes out that would push it across the line.
Big picture, and I agree with the LSU fans who say everyone cheats, because everyone absolutely cheats. And when LSU hired Will Wade, they knew that Will Wade had a reputation. Will Wade's reputation is well known. I mean, everyone. I'm not condemning the guy. If he gets away with it, it's fascinating. To me, one of the interesting things you said is you're the assumption that the NCAA is going to investigate all of these programs. I don't think the NCAA has the manpower, even if it had the desire, which I question, to investigate all of these programs. How do you think the NCAA is going to decide which programs it's actually going to investigate and which programs it's just going to rubber stamp?
I have no clue. I don't know how to answer that, Neil. I mean, but I think there are high-profile schools that are involved in this that are a logical place to start. I think when you look at Arizona, when you look at LSU, that makes a lot of sense. If you start following the paper trail with Zion and you start talking about Kansas, that makes a lot of sense as well. Will the NCAA go target one of its blue bloods? Maybe, but then we saw the academic scandal at North Carolina get completely ignored. Well, I shouldn't say ignored. They investigated for 2-3 years, whatever it was, and then decided, no sanctions. So, I mean, I do understand LSU fans as well in that instance that are saying, man, look, they're getting away with it, so shrug your shoulders and move on. It's just the culture that's been created. I mean, I understand it. And by the way, guys, just like from my standpoint, if Will Wade cheated personally, like, I don't care. I don't think the thing that is off-putting for me is when some talking heads say that LSU or fill in the blank school U has lost their moral compass. I don't believe that this is a moral or ethical issue. If a kid or a family wants to take money, okay, they're breaking a rule, and if you get caught, you have to pay the penalty for breaking that rule. But I don't think that that's a moral or ethical issue. It's like the analogy I've given, we've all been there, like midnight. You're at a street at a red light where you can see for miles in either direction and nobody's coming. You're sitting at this red light. You look, all right, you run it. Well, you broke a rule, and if there's a cop, in a car with his lights off 100 yards ahead and the lights come on and he gives you a ticket, you got to pay it. You're guilty.
Right.
But I don't think that's like a moral or ethical issue that you ran the red. You broke a rule, and now you got to pay the fine. But that's where I am with all this, man. If you're 18 and someone wants to give you $150,000 for your commitment to go play basketball, I just don't care. I just don't have a problem with it. And maybe I'm wrong for that. I just don't.
Well,
I think don't have a problem with someone getting their market value.
I think what you're saying is exactly why some of the Ole Miss people out there are saying exactly, because that's why they were so upset at some of the Dan Wilkins and Pat Forties and some of the people that came out with this over the top diatribe about Ole Miss cheated and oh my God, it's just this. Look, here's the reality. There's a reality about Ole Miss's deal, and I tell people this all the time, and it's funny. The Ole Miss people get mad at me because they say I don't protect the program or whatever, and then other people say I'm a homer. I look at the Ole Miss deal and I say if they had the resources, look, Ole Miss lost more recruiting battles than it won during that Hugh Freeze period. Yeah, they got Laramie Tunsil, but they gave 4 people scholarships to get Laramie Tunsil. I mean, they gave his half brother a scholarship. He can't play. They gave Zedrick Woods a scholarship, and at the time, nobody else was recruiting him. He turned out to be a pretty good college player. They gave a girlfriend a scholarship and stuff. They didn't do anything illegal. They gave scholarships away. Nick Saban was not going to give 3 scholarships to get Laramie Tunsil. Mark Richt wasn't going to give 3 scholarships to give Laramie Tunsil. If Ole Miss had the resources that some of the other programs had, and I'm with you, if I'm a kid and someone offers, take it, whatever. But they would have they didn't cheat the way that some of the national media portrayed them to cheat, not because they didn't want to, it's because they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
Everybody
in that
cheats.
Respect, Neil, I think probably it sounds like, and not knowing every finger on the pulse of Ole Miss, the Ole Miss fan base, it sounds like the LSU fan base with the Will Wade situation and the Ole Miss fan base with the Hugh Freeze situation are in very similar mind frames, and that's somewhat of the annoying thing as a fan, where you look around and you say, okay, we see all of this stuff going on. We see Cam Newton's father acknowledge soliciting $250,000 for his son's commitment. You see Johnny Manziel in a hotel room on video with gobs of memorabilia in Vegas, and we're just supposed to assume that he signed all of that stuff out of the goodness of his own heart, and nothing happens to those guys. Why is the NCAA cherry picking? Why are they picking on my team? I think that's where so many fans are, and the pushback, their ability to fight back, is by digging their heels in the sand on this issue with Will Wade. I think that's where collectively their mind is.
Yeah, I think that's true. And in fairness to the fans, I think it's a valid point. It's something that the NCAA doesn't address. I mean, and there's so many people in the national media that are just there's some of them that are so far up the NCAA's ass, they could tell you what the NCAA ate for lunch last Tuesday. I mean, Seth Davis yesterday with, gosh, the FBI has been investigating for all these years, and this is all they found. Maybe the sport is cleaner than we thought. It's like, my God, Seth. I mean, really? You're a national media member at CBS Sports with all the access you can want, and you basically just put on a T-shirt that said, "Please love me."
It's, I don't know Seth. I don't know where his allegiances or motivations fall, but situations like this can be interesting test case for whose allegiances are where. Most notably, Dick Vitale. the fact that he continues to stump the way he does for Rick Pitino, for example, it's confounding, man. It's an odd thing to watch when lines are drawn in the sand, who steps on which side of the lines.
Yeah, just crazy. Last thing, Matt. Appreciate the time. Well, first, any new bourbons, ryes, or anything before I let you go? What do you got?
You know what, man? So Calandro's in Baton Rouge is the spot with the best selection, and they've been riding the heater with some barrel picks of late. I actually last night tried a Knob Creek barrel pick, about 120 proof. So you're expecting a little bit of heat on that thing, and actually, boy, it was surprisingly pleasant. I'm not a huge Knob Creek guy, but they knocked it out the park. Aged 14 and a half years. So I'll save some of it if you guys are coming to town this weekend or ever for a football game. I'll save some of it. We'll partake.
That's not too bad. Yeah. So obviously you're giving a little bit of free advertising. There will be some Ole Miss people down there. Where's this establishment?
Well, there's two of them. Okay. There's one on Perkins Road by Segan, and I didn't mean it that way. It's just because it's a barrel pick. It's someplace you can get it. But and then one on Government. Both are probably about 10 or 15 minutes from campus. But if you're a whiskey person and you're in Baton Rouge, that's the spot that has the best selection. I mean, that's just where you go. So,
gotcha.
If you're interested, check them out and look me up.
All right, sounds good, Matt. Appreciate the time as always. Let's do it again.
All right, guys, anytime.
Thanks to Matt for coming on with us on this Wednesday morning. Part of the podcast brought to you in part by Mastercuts Lawn and Landscape. 662-607-7773. Go mastercuts.com. Basic maintenance. Let them take care of your yard all year long. You don't have to worry about the mowing, the weed eating, the edging, or any of that stuff. They do it for you, and they do much more as well. They build custom playgrounds, retaining walls, pool decks, outdoor living spaces, paver patios, forestry, mulching, and much more. Your dream backyard, easier than you think. You can do that just by, again, calling Mastercuts for that free quote at 662-607-7773.
I referenced Seth Davis's take yesterday on Twitter where he defends the NCAA, and I'm sure got himself a free St. Elmo's shrimp cocktail. Gosh, it must be so good. That's all I can you and I are going to Indianapolis sometime soon. I got to have one and see what all the magic is about. But his tweet was the crap take of the day. It's brought to you by Scoopers Pet Waste Removal, LLC. Everyone, presumably even Seth Davis, loves their pets, but no one loves stepping into their pet's stuff, and tracking that stuff back into your house is a nightmare in and of itself. Scoopers will go into your backyard, apartment complex, or condominium and pick up what no one really wants to pick up. For $10 a cleaning, Scoopers will clean up your yard, and they'll do it on your schedule, whether that's a weekly, bi-weekly, or one-time service. No contracts are required. You can cancel at any time. If you have multiple dogs, it's just $2 for each additional dog. So if you own a home, a condo, or an apartment complex in Oxford and you'd like to deal with a lot less crap, call Scoopers. 662-506-2754, or simply send them an email at scoopers.oxfordpetwaste@gmail.com to get your cleanings scheduled today. Scoopers Pet Waste Removal, they're number one in your pet's number two business. The podcast also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, look no further than Grenada Nissan. They've got a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Go in, test drive one today. Tell Gene and Sandy that you heard about Grenada Nissan here on the podcast, and you'll get Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com. And we're brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent. He's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. No one knows the residential and condo market in Oxford better than Harry. Go to his site. He'll prove it to you. HarryAlexander.com. Also know that Harry is a really big part of Savannah Square. It's a new 9-acre development, 0.7 of a mile from the Oxford downtown square. It consists of 32 standalone detached structures ranging in size from about 1,100 to 2,400 square feet. The model home is available for you to look at 215 William Street. The homes have wonderful layouts, impeccable finishes. You can inspect them there. So give Carrie a call or a text at 662-801-5621 or check out the site savannahsquareoxford.com.
Let's see. A little fun with numbers here. I mentioned OSU hitting really poorly against left-handed pitching. A little bit of a newsflash. Most teams hit pretty poorly against left-handed pitching. Ole Miss has actually really picked its numbers up in recent weeks. Looking at it here, Ole Miss is hitting .306 against right-handers, the exact same as LSU against right-handers. Ole Miss now at .261 against left-handers. That .261, fourth in the SEC against left-handed pitching. So nobody doing overly well except for Mississippi State. They are hitting left-handers at a .355 clip. Arkansas is at £267, and then $289 for the Vanderbilt Commodores. So that is the top three, almost fourth in the SEC against lefties. So a little perspective there, because everybody goes, oh, well, wow, the right-handers, you're hitting 50 points higher. Well, everybody sucks against left-hander pitching. Good left-handers are somewhat hard to hit. They're in demand, maybe. It's
why, oh, God, I could go into my little rant here. I should stop. I really should stop. It's where I'm actually being a really good dad. So I'll give myself this.
Okay.
I screw up a lot of parenting things. Carson had a really bad travel ball experience.
Yep.
And came really close to just kind of giving baseball up. Just stopping. Because he was told at the age of 10 and 11 that he didn't throw hard enough. Let that marinate in your head for a moment. Think about that a minute. Just let that resonate and think about what that means. How big of an idiot you have to be to say that to a kid at 11. Well, you just don't throw hard enough. You probably should quit. Anyway, we've just kind of kept working at it. No pressure. His value as a human being is never going to be defined by his ability to throw strikes. Ever. In any form. But Carson's going to be tall. He's got big feet. There are some people in our family who are tall. My brother's 6'3.5", 6'4". Carson appears to be headed in that direction, and he's left-handed. And he's only pitched in a game once, and he threw the ball all over the place.
Did he throw it all over the place?
Yeah, but that's before we kind of figured something out.
Okay, gotcha.
We've kind of figured something out. We've worked a few times.
Oh, he hasn't thrown since you and I talked the other day?
No.
Okay.
No, got rained out. And I don't know that we play tomorrow night, and he probably will not pitch tomorrow night because the two kids who've earned the right to pitch are both rested, and they should pitch before he does, in my opinion. They've earned it. We'll play a couple of games next week, and he'll probably have to pitch, whether he's earned it or not, because we've got to have people throw the pitches. Anyway, my point is that he's kind of started to figure it out. He's throwing strikes. He's throwing fairly hard. Left-handed pitch. I've told him the other day, I said, Bud, you're left-handed. At some point, and it may never happen, but at some point, and in Oxford it might not happen for a number of reasons. One, because the youth baseball is really good here. There are some really good travel teams. The high school program's excellent, et cetera, et cetera. It's very competitive. It's hard to make it. But I did tell him, you're left-handed, and if you continue to develop and you're tall and you throw left-handed, kids don't see really good left-handed pitching much, and when they do, they're not used to it, which means they don't hit it particularly well. And left-handed hitters don't like left-handed pitchers. It's uncomfortable.
Of course, yeah.
And so I told him, just keep working at it, and if you develop, great. There might be a role for you, and if you don't, it's okay. Far more concerned about your grades.
Yeah. A little bit of a crazy baseball game last night. I'm seeing here the Orioles High A affiliate. They allowed one hit in 9 innings last night.
Yeah.
And lost 5-4.
A lot of walks.
Let's see. They had a no-hitter going into the 9th inning. Okay. Let's see. After Seabrook, pitcher for them, I guess, struck out Martin Gasparini to start the 9th, he walked 2 straight batters.
Yeah.
Luis Perez entered the game, walked the first batter he faced to load the bases,
walks,
bringing the tying run to the plate. The no-hit bid was still intact, but now the game hung in the balance. Wilmington's Sebastian Rivero reached on an error by shortstop Yeltsin something, allowing a run to score.
Yep.
After another walk, the 7th allowed by Keys pitchers, and a wild pitch. The Blue Rocks trailed by just one, 4-3. Still didn't have a hit. The next hitter, Denicher Carrasco, popped up to first base, leaving runners on second and third with 2 outs.
Good catch.
I don't know. Yeah. Finally, Wilmington's first hit came. Fortunately for the Keys, it was all the Blue Rocks needed. Christian Perez hit a ground rule double down the left field line to drive in 2 runs, putting Wilmington ahead at 5-4. Frederick mustered a walk in the bottom of the 9th, but ball game. Yeah.
Well, as a rule, if you walk 7 people and you throw the ball all over the place and you commit a few errors, it can go bad.
The Frederick Keys on Twitter goes, we're trailing 5-4, and the Blue Rocks got a hit. So, no hitter gone, win gone.
Yeah, it happens. Helps to throw strikes.
It's funny. It says here, even the Associated Press's recap of the game, which is written by Automated Insights, a company that uses data to generate readable narrative, which should be scary for every news writer out there.
Oh, my God.
Couldn't properly summarize what just happened. Christian Perez hit a 2-run double in the 9th inning, leading the Wilmington Blue Rocks to a 5-4 win over the Frederick Keys on Tuesday. The double by Perez gave the Blue Rocks a 5-4 lead and capped a 5-run inning for Wilmington. Well, that's putting it mildly, as it says.
Sort of missing the point of the story, but yeah. It's all technically accurate.
I knew the AP used programs to write recaps now.
Yeah.
So,
matter of time.
Hey, journalism schools, quit teaching recaps. Thanks.
Soon we'll have robot umpires, and then sometime after that, we'll just have robots.
I'm fine with robot umpires.
I am too.
That's fine.
I'm actually fine with the robot strike zone.
A red and a green light. It's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, look, tennis can figure out where the little ball hits the line, and anywhere we can figure this out.
You'll still need umpires for balks.
Yeah, plays at the plate.
Stuff like that. But a strike zone, I'm actually good with it. I think it takes a lot of pressure off the umpire.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. All right. More tomorrow. First,
need to remind you guys that I know we had a great time celebrating Blue Delta's 5-year anniversary on the square in April. But it's May now. Today's May the 1st. Maybe you missed it. You're worried that you aren't going to be able to get fitted for your pair of Blue Deltas until football season rolls back around. But don't worry. It's okay. These guys travel the country. They do trunk shows. They fit sports teams. They do golf tournaments. In other words, they just might be coming to you. We'll be following them on Instagram. We'll let you know where they've been, where they're going. You can do the same. Look on Instagram at Blue Delta Jeans. They were in New York, Chicago, and Orlando, for example, just last week. If you'd like to inquire about hosting a private trunk show in your city, maybe you can get some of those fancy pants like our boy Chase had on Sunday. You can get those. You can get them to come to Jackson, to Birmingham, to Atlanta, to Dallas, to San Angelo, Texas, whatever the case may be. All you have to do is send them a DM on Instagram or email them at info@bluedeltajeans.com, and a Blue Delta stylist will reach out to you with details.
Yes, the seersucker is available, so you can take advantage of
They were nice. I was a little
lilac, green, a lot of different options.
I was a little jealous.
So we move forward. Honeycomb blue.
Yeah, those did look good.
Look like Chris Bryant. Wear the honeycomb.
Yeah, that's all you have to do.
That's it.
That's it. All you have to do is just put those on, and you look just like him.
Neil should go in and say, I want the honeycomb, and just however you measured Chris, just give me those. I'll fit in them.
Yeah. I'm guessing not.
Not so much.
I'm trying hard, but I don't know that.
Not getting there today?
I don't know that any time in my life, I don't think it's conceivable that I have ever had or will ever have a body like his. I don't think that's realistic.
Fair enough. Jeffrey tomorrow, and then more as the week goes on. Check RoboGrove.com, and we'll talk to you then.